protein refers to the fact that wild seafood, wild-caught seafood from well-managed fisheries can play an enormously constructive role in the future of our planet and in the livelihoods of hundreds of millions of coastal people and fishers. And that opportunity is not well understood, and yet it is huge. We could feed a billion people, a healthy seafood meal every day, forever, from a rebuilt ocean. And we're headed right now for about half of that. There's lots of hungry people in the world, hundreds of millions of them. We should be doing everything we can to feed them in the future. Number two, marine protein, healthy wild seafood protein, is a climate-safe source of protein. It doesn't generate climate-forcing gases in anywhere near the proportion that livestock production does. So if you want to feed people animal protein and you're worried about climate change, this is a great thing to do. Number three, it's healthy for people. There are doctors telling you, please cut back on your red meat, eat some more seafood. It'll be good for your risk of cancer, heart disease, and other problems. So for all these reasons, and even some others, one of which I should emphasize, which is that if you care about biodiversity loss on the land, you should want the oceans to be abundant. We can turn around the decline of ocean productivity and get more fish for the world. Why? Because the most productive parts of the ocean are coastal zones. Those coastal zones are managed just by the adjacent country. So you can save the oceans and feed the world, country by country. Small team of people like Oceana now has in 9 countries in the European Union can win the policies that force better management of the coastal fishery, make it more productive, make it feed more people, employ more people. It's a huge opportunity. The world should seize it. I think that we've proven that it's possible to win policies at the national level that will put more fish in the sea for people to eat and protect the biodiversity of the ocean. I think we've proven that. We've been effective in our teams now in 9 countries plus the European Union. Everywhere we've operated, we've been able to win national scale policies that stop overfishing, protect habitat, require transparency, reduce pollution. So 20 years ago, we didn't know whether we could win. 20 years ago, people, I think, were skeptical about whether the whole project would work. It seemed too big. The ocean seemed too international, too wild, too uncontrolled, too easily exploited by big industrial companies that you couldn't stop. And we've shown that because fish, most of them, are caught in the coastal zones controlled by individual countries, that a small team of advocates located in key countries, chosen because they have a big fish catch or a big fleet, that small team of advocates can win policy that protects and restores an abundant ocean. We've proven that. And that's a big change. Second thing is there has been an increasing awareness about the depletion of the ocean, both in terms of its productivity and its biodiversity. And I think the general person is more sympathetic than they were 20 years ago to the job of restoring and protecting the oceans. People hear about reefs dying because of climate change. People hear about plastic pollution, especially on the beaches. Offshore oil drilling disasters have occurred prominently in the United States with Deepwater Horizon. These have, all in the last 20 years, have changed a little bit the salience of the ocean as a problem. So those are big changes, I think. We have a long way to go. We did a survey in the United States about a month ago, and we asked people what issue affecting the ocean was top of mind, and plastic pollution is that issue. About 10 years ago, being asked by our board to figure out a way to be effective in fighting plastic pollution in the ocean. And at first, I was very worried that the problem was too big and too difficult, and the industry so powerful, the polluting industry, plastic polluters, that we would not be able to actually win. And one of the fundamental beliefs that we have at Oceana is that we should be effective, and we should set goals that are important, but where we realistically think we can win, and not just do things because they sound good when you don't have a way to win. So I was at the beginning quite uncertain that we could find a way to win. And we spent about 2 years with a global team thinking this through. And what we realized, very importantly in that process, was that the industry, the plastic industry, had succeeded in framing the problem as a downstream problem of a failure by individuals to recycle their plastic. And they, in effect, had blamed the pollution on the regular person who has no choice but to buy stuff in plastic bottles and in plastic packages that are used once and thrown away. And the argument of the industry was, well, we just need to get recycling working. And our analysis showed that that was a lie. And that since the start of plastic production, less than 10% of all plastic ever produced had been recycled. Less than 10%. Anybody who cares about the facts has to conclude that the experiment is over and the experiment called recycling has failed, and that the only solution, therefore, is to move upstream and to ask the people who are the fundamental polluters, the big companies, the big industries that are choosing plastic, a material that essentially lasts forever, to become a package that will be used once and then thrown away. A beverage package, a consumer product package, which, again, in my childhood was not plastic. It was glass, it was aluminum, it was ceramic, it was textile, it was paper. There are many other alternatives to plastic for packaging. And in my childhood, all of those were employed very successfully. So we decided we're going to focus the attention where it belongs. Somebody at Oceana came up with a great metaphor. If you come home one day in your home and you discover to your great unhappiness that your bathtub is overflowing with water, what's the first thing you do? Is the first thing you do go get a mop? No, the first thing you do is turn off the spigot. Let's turn off the spigot of plastic pollution upstream, which means passing laws that require, especially plastic packaging, to end and to be replaced with sensible alternatives. And those laws are being won in countries around the world. Oceana's team in Brazil has been very effective and done so in a challenging environment. And it's been an inspiration, really, to us, to our other teams around the world, and certainly to me and to our board of directors and our funders. Very proud of the achievement we made here in advancing transparency, meaning trackability of fishing, commercial fishing boats in public domain. Getting that information via satellite about where they're fishing. Secondly, ending of bottom trawling in Rio Grande do Sul, protecting an enormous amount of very productive habitat to the benefit of smaller scale non-industrial fishers and their livelihoods and their jobs. All of that achieved in just these 10 years, along with some big advances in plastic pollution, especially working with some big Brazilian companies, getting them to agree to take plastic packaging out of their regular operations. It's been across all 4 of those policy areas, habitat protection, fishing management, pollution, transparency, we've seen big step forwards here. First of all, people need to understand that we can win an enormous amount of progress for the oceans country by country. And that's so inspirational to people who understand how difficult it is to get all the nations of the world to work together, which history shows is very, very difficult. So understand we can do it country by country, and ask yourself whether your involvement with your country can help push the national policies that'll do what? We've talked about 5 things here today. Stop overfishing, protect key habitat, reduce pollution, especially plastic and oil pollution, require transparency, meaning trackability and transparency of commercial fishing while it operates. And then lastly, take steps to protect biodiversity, specific steps to protect biodiversity when it is threatened. Those are the 5 areas where we need policy. If you're listening to this, you should ask yourself whether you can help your country take those steps in its own self-interest. This is not like climate change where we're asking people to do something that's hard for their own economy, hard for their own country, in service of the planet. If you do the right thing, you will have more fish in your own ocean, a more abundant and clean ocean for your own people. Your own fishers, the smaller scale fishers, can have more steady livelihoods and better jobs. So this is a good thing to do for the regular familiar reasons about jobs and food, and also for the greater good of the climate and the planet.